Good morning, and welcome to the What Inspired Me Today podcast, a podcast created to inspire you to be the very best that you can be. My name is Stephen Matthew, and this is what inspired me today. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. It is an honor and a pleasure to be speaking with you this morning. This week in the academic calendar, it is finals week for my students and I, so the final examination period. Naturally, there's a lot of stress and anxiety in the air through this week as students are sitting their final tests and instructors are doing all of their grading. I don't know about you, but when I was a student, I hated taking tests. Tests were always stressful. There's a different kind of stress and anxiety in relation to tests, and it always required a lot of energy, and you're exhausted by the end of it. I remember for myself that I had to work really hard in order to get decent grades, which made it really frustrating when I saw classmates of mine who were more academically adept that could seemingly breeze throughout the year and then score really highly in the end of the semester. But I don't begrudge that anymore, because what's happened now at this juncture of my life is that I realize that all of the hard work that I put in, I have reaped the benefits of. In relation to what I just said, I wanted to share this quote from Scripture for you this morning. It comes from the book of James, chapter 1, verses 2 to 4. It says this: "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything." As we all know, testing can be a difficult period of time. It provides a lot of stress, it provides anxiety, it can be hard and difficult. This is exacerbated and amplified once we leave schooling and we face real life. Real life tests us in ways that we can't imagine. It will test our willpower, our strength, our egos. It will test our emotions. It will test everything about us as we go through life. It will throw curveballs at us. It won't be a standard test that we just sit down and write some answers to. So how do we go through a testing period? Well, first off, I do want to highlight a couple of things from this verse. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds. That's a guaranteed. That is not something that might happen. It is something that will happen. We will all face different trials and situations dependent on where we are in life and the decisions that we make. But know this: the testing of your faith produces perseverance. When I talk about faith, for some of you, this might be in a religious context, which is A-okay, right? Your own faith. As your faith is tested, your belief in something that you cannot see, that produces perseverance. That perseverance is the thing that helps you to carry on. The instruction for the end of this verse says this specifically: let perseverance finish its work. Why? So that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. There are some advantages to going through a testing period. The first big one is that we learn wisdom. We learn maturity. We become more wise, not in our own eyes, but we become more mature, knowing that there are certain situations we can't control, there are certain situations that we can, and to know the difference, if you remember that prayer before. It tells us and it teaches us how to become more complete as a human being, not lacking anything. We're not reliant just on our emotions that will go wishy-washy, that might change at a tip of a dime, but we become more mature and complete as we go through testing periods. I don't know if you've ever spoken to an older person before who has gone through some stuff. Whenever you talk about your own life and situations that you've gone through, I've heard this myself, and they chuckle and they go, you'll be all right. You'll be fine. That comes from a level of wisdom that, as a younger person, I find it difficult to understand. But I do know that when I talk to other people and hear their stories, and I've been through something similar, I have the wisdom now to know that they will be okay as well. It helps to strengthen our faith and our belief not only in maybe a higher power, but also in ourselves as well. Remember all of the things that you've gone through when you are facing something new. It teaches us this perseverance, and as we develop this perseverance, as we let it finish its work, it develops the sense of inner strength within us to continue on. And so these are all of the advantages of going through a testing period, despite it being difficult. Now, I am fully cognizant of the fact that when we're going through stuff, we don't want to hear any of this. When we're going through it, we might not even be able to see what is on the other side. So, naturally, the question is, how do we handle tests and trials and difficult situations? Let me offer a couple of ideas for you to think on and mull over. The first thing that we might want to trial as we are dealing with facing adversity and learning how to persevere is to plan things out as much as we can. We as human beings, our brains, we are able to handle situations far more effectively when we can prepare for it. There are obviously a lot of things in life that we cannot prepare for, but when we know something is coming, we are going to be able to face it and be more effective at dealing with that situation when we even have a moment to think on it. So, a couple things that we can think on. For yourself, perhaps make small little goals that have an end in sight. Oftentimes when we go through a period of trials and tests, we don't know how long that period is. When we're in school, we do. We know exactly how long it's going to be. We know when it's going to be. If we can prepare for it in advance, we will be ready for that test. In life, it's not quite so easy. So, if we don't have an end date or an end goal for something that is happening or what we're going through, make small little goals that will help you persevere. The SMART framework is a way for you to be able to make goals for yourself to achieve them. They don't have to be grandiose ones. You can make these into small little goals as well. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. These are the frameworks that we can use to make efficient small goals. Make sure that they're specific, make sure that you can measure when you know you've achieved it, that they are attainable goals, not something lofty, but something that you can attain, that they're relevant to your overall vision, and that they are time sensitive. If you have something in mind and you give it a deadline, you're more likely to achieve it. So the first thing that you can do is to plan it out and make small goals for yourself so that you have something that you can look towards, having an end in sight, even though you might not know how long your testing period is. The second thing to be aware of is knowing that the testing period is temporary. In life, nothing is permanent. And though it might feel like the testing period and the trial is going on for a long time and that you might not be able to get through it, you can, and it is temporary. I really like the phrase, "this too shall pass." And I use that phrase knowing that when I'm going through trials, that this is just something that is temporary. The third thing is knowing when to blame versus when to learn. What this means is, instead of asking the question, why me? Asking, hey, why is this happening to me? Why me? Instead, to reframe our mindset of where we are and what we're looking at and asking ourselves, what can I learn from this situation? What is something that I can glean from it? This challenges our own mindset and our concept of a growth mindset versus something where we dig our heels in, a non-growth mindset. This line of questioning, changes our mind from looking at something that might potentially be perceived as negative to then looking for something that is of value and looking for knowledge in what we might be doing or seeing or are in. And so as you ask yourself, instead of wallowing in despair, to ask yourself, what can I learn from this situation? If you are open to that, you will find little nuggets of gold, of wisdom, of perseverance, of strength in your difficult situations. The final thing is this, and it's related to what I just talked about. Avoid wallowing in despair. I totally understand that when we're going through difficult times, myself included, it is really easy to fall into despair. It is natural, and I absolutely encourage you to feel whatever you're feeling and express whatever you're feeling. But it is important not to dwell on those negative feelings as well. When we wallow in it, then we actually put on these sunglasses that change our frame of reference and our mindset, and it makes the difficult situation worse than it actually might be. We start to catastrophize where we might be. And so to avoid that, we want to change our mindset about where we are. Yes, this is a difficult situation. Yes, this is stress-inducing and anxiety-inducing. It might be a hard situation. Accepting all of them, even with that, what can I learn? What can I grow in? How will this develop my perseverance? How will this develop my strength? As we start to change and shift what we think about and what we look at, then we can make better decisions and see the end in sight a lot earlier. So, testing is difficult. It is a necessary thing that we all have to go through. But at the end of it, we grow in our maturity, in our wisdom. We grow in faith. We can grow in our own self-belief as well. And we become stronger at the end of it. Please know that this too shall pass. With that said, have a great week.